Boop 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 boop. Hey, boop 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 boop. I'm gonna do a whole different breakdown now. Boom. Hello, hello everyone. Hello. Welcome back to Escaping Dystopia of a Sort. My name is Roy. This is the show. Today is June 4th, 2017. We're going to talk about some stuff. I'm going to get my updated little outline going on right here, and then we'll change that. Boom, ba-doo-boo. I'm going to go over a little bit kind of how we're figuring out how to do things here. Trying to get back in the habit, kind of got a bit disrupted in life. You know how that goes, right? People who are also living and aware of life and things that happen in life. 'Tis quite the beating sometimes. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So, what's been going on last couple weeks? We're going to go through quick what we're going to talk about this evening. We're going to try and keep it a little bit shorter tonight. And not waste all of your life. So much stuff to do. It's so fun. It was a gorgeous day here in lovely Colorado. Did some fishing, did some hanging out, made some cookies. Alright, so what are we talking about tonight? Let's see. Sorry, I have a little new of my, working on my production quality, shall we say. And I think, I don't know, we got the light a little bit better than last time. I was getting a little washed out in the facial area. And since this whole thing is just my mug talking, probably should fix that. Alright, so, we got a few things. The Trump international trip, I guess he wandered around the world squeezing people's hands. I'll talk a little bit about that. There was a transcript from one of his discussions that's actually out there and available if you're curious about how he actually talks to people. It's not much different than the other stuff, but we'll talk about that. It's a transcript with Rodrigo Duterte. The Paris Accord, the U.S. is no longer run by somebody who wants to be a part of that. And because we also have Republicans in Congress. We'll talk about that. A little Covfefe action, because we need to talk about actually the significance of that, which actually there is some. A little bit about comedians, which are funny. Right? Comedians are... What is it, like an unfunny comedian? Just smartass? I don't know, I guess. I don't know. Comedians have to be funny. That's kind of what they are. So we'll talk about that. A little bit about lies and false premises. I think I put the Misquote of London Mayor. Did I actually put that typo? I probably did. We'll talk about that. A little Go versus AI and computers and that. Some interesting stuff happened on that. And then where next? What do next? So, with that being said, I will have a drink. You cheers. You know, I wonder, now that I think about it, because the main reason I usually will drink a little bit of soda, right, to drink stuff, but I can't drink the soda while I'm doing the talking because it leads to the burping, which doesn't sound good. So, drinking water, but I could be drinking scotch now that I think about it. So we might have to change our little Sunday evening habit up around here a little bit. I will go back to my big outline. I probably did that, didn't I? Hold on just a moment. I love whistling. Let's see, 6-4 big outline. Boom. Where are we at? All right. So, what are the biggest things from the international trip? They let him back in, but anyway, our president went and wandered around the world for a little while. He went from Saudi Arabia, and then he went to the Middle East. No, he left the Middle East, and then somehow was still in the Middle East. In Israel. But he did the thing in Saudi. The thing with the Saudi and the weapons deals, you could basically have a weapons deal for as much as you want to. One of the things that Obama was doing and trying to not do was sell them too many weapons. And So they sold them a bunch more. So that's part of what the U.S. does. That's one of the big things we export is weapons of war. You can't expect that not to happen so much. So they did that. Got the whole bowing for gold situation. And then he wandered over to Israel and did that. Decided not to move the embassy, so we didn't get like a full-on super terror there. The meeting with the G7 and is just or maybe they're talking about now the G6. It used to be the G8, and the two that are no longer going to be part of that are, of course, ourselves and Russia. In that. You notice, of course, through this whole big international trip, he didn't make the big announcement about the Paris Accord because that would have completely overshadowed the entire international trip. The amount of lies and subterfuge coming from these people is kind of over the top and out of control, but it is what it is. Welcome to the world nowadays. The Pope meeting was pretty funny. Those pictures are hilarious. The Pope, I mean, he literally, like, he did ask if he saw him, and then he looked to his wife, and he goes, "What are you feeding him? Is it that, like, this big dessert, I guess, from where she's from?" Basically mentioning the fact that Homeboy is kind of opened himself up to some of those jokes that he liked to tell a lot when he was running his pageants about people being a little heavy. So this is true. He's one of those people who doesn't believe in exercise as a real thing. There's a really old concept that actually people did actually used to believe that heart muscles and all your other muscles and stuff had a limited number of usage. And the more you exercise, it would speed up your heart and therefore give you a shorter life. He actually does believe this and doesn't believe in the concept of exercise. We're going to see, this is going to go really fast, I think. So there's a few like things that are kind of racing to end this. One is, our own other... one of them is, of course, his own physical health. So we'll see if he just loses it. I guess he had to take a day for fatigue, and then there was the whole golf cart incident. So if he actually can't, and this continues to be like some sort of physical ailment, that'd be kind of funny. Anyway. So Merkel is now probably the kind of the leader of the free world, and she came out and said that we can't really depend on the U.S. in so many words. That is kind of a big deal, and that was one of the biggest things that came out of a lot of this stuff. I mean, all of the things for the international trips kind of overshadowed by the U.S., like literally turning its back on the world here with the Paris pullout. Pulling out is not an effective means of climate control, people. Anyway, we'll get to that. There was something else I did want to talk to first, and that was this transcript with Rodrigo Duterte. I don't know if that's the correct way, but that sounds kind of cool, so I'll say it like that. This, again, I've spoken about this a number of times, and this is part of one of my generalized themes from Escaping Dystopia, and this is the realignment of the U.S. as far as, who we, publicly want to stand with and who, the president speaks well of and who he speaks poorly of. The call he does literally, and the transcript got leaked out, by the way, by the Philippines government. And it's, it is exactly kind of what there was a little bit of media coverage, but very highly praised of this guy who's running this murderous campaign and just set up martial law. And we'll see how this whole thing plays out, because there's one of the things when you have somebody who comes in like this and who is a strong man who starts killing a bunch of people, sometimes people like it because they're killing people that they don't like. And that lasts for a certain amount of time. But again, the means of doing this tends to be rather self-destructive. So it's not very likely that Duterte is gonna... Is it Duterte or Duterte? I'll have to look this up. I'm sorry. Apologies, I'm still getting into the swing of things. I should have looked up the words that I don't know. But how this is going to play out for them, because they're doing very, very nasty things, and it's when you start to let people just kill people, summary executions on the street for having drugs, you can just give somebody drugs and then kill them. So that makes, solving all sorts of disputes very, very quick and violent and not particularly justice-oriented. So... we did. Our president highly praised this person, and said some really kind of silly things. It's funny. He's actually the whole China North Korea thing. So we sent over another super carrier group to outside. During the conversation with Duterte, he mentioned that we had a couple nuclear subs over there as well, and that they were rather powerful. So there's a big, serious heating up of what's going on in North Korea. Now, of course, North Korea has been shooting off missiles left, right, and center. So we're just, I mean, again, the dick waving has gotten quite large on that side, and that was what that transcript is about. And then also you see, of course, Trump's idea. This goes back to his general thing that he doesn't really do stuff. He tells people to do stuff and hopes that works out. And in this case, it's China that he's telling to solve the North Korea thing, which gives us pretty much zero influence over China for other things. And that's why he doesn't quite understand exactly how all this works. But it's just part of it. That's how it goes. So the Paris Accord. So the lie coming out, and folks, I hope that everybody who is listening that I'm friends with is kind of aghast at this situation. So one, we need to understand that this is a voluntary accord where people set their own targets, and the idea was just that the world comes together and believes that this is real and this is an issue, which, again, they're not even saying as they pull out of this that they don't believe in global warming. And this is what is so odd about the current Republican position on this issue. Because the GOP knows, and a lot of them know, they can't just deny reality, right? You're about to see one of the largest icebergs in, like, recorded history break off in Antarctica. And you can't just deny how hot it's getting, because people see it all over the place. We're breaking tons of records. They tried to do that for a decade, and worked pretty well. It's not getting warmer, it's actually getting colder. No, it's not, fuckers. But anyway, so when they're pulling out of this, they're not trying to say that this is not real. He's not trying to still say it's a hoax, but they are trying to say that it's all economic. And that is, again, just a bullshit argument. And one of the things I was going to talk about a little bit later, but this is repeated over and over, and when you don't have a real set of facts, there's not a real reality that people agree upon, if you don't have those same kind of premises, like if you just make up whatever that you're going to build that argument from, then you can come up with whatever conclusion you want. Like the ocean here with the Paris Accord, you're like saying, well, it's not that big a deal, whatever. This whole reason this thing, everybody got together was just to gang up on the U.S., and because Obama hates the U.S., that's why he did it. And that's just all utter bullshit, but that's what they're telling their people. And that we're saving the U.S. from Obama and those evil other countries that all just hate and they're jealous. They're so jealous. So jealous. But again, it's all just this bullshit that's built off of that. You're going to see, again, a lot of this doesn't really matter until we have another election. And we're not going to have an election without an attack. I'm very sure of that now. So it'll be interesting to see how this actually affects the real politics. His approval rating continues to go down, although among his core, they're still pretty hardcore. And a lot of the people in between, again, they've tuned a lot of this out. And so all they need to hear a little bit is a little bit of an argument. Oh, he's doing just America first. That's why, And so they let a lot of this stuff slide. And so we'll see how it all plays out. And I know that everybody who pays attention is kind of pulling the hair out because it is so ridiculous and it is so bullshit. But democracy is everybody, even the people who pay attention and those who don't. So you gotta let it flow a little bit. You gotta let it flow. Speaking of letting it flow, have you ever done this? And I don't know, I've done this. It's like you're late at night and you're like on your phone and you're like, I just wanna fucking media such gonna. I don't know if you got that. That was my impression of falling asleep typing a tweet. That is what happened this week. That's what happened. He fell asleep and sent a tweet. That's why it was there all night. That's why that's what the word is. That's why they were like, oh no, it's an inside joke about this Arab word that means stand up, and he fell asleep on his phone sending a tweet. And they couldn't talk about it. There's some Twitter accounts that I recommend you follow if you want to know. Just type a comment, and I'll give you the Twitter accounts for some of the leakers inside. Those, by the way, are also some of the leakers that he really wants to get out. Is who's the people who are in the White House? Because again, there's tons of people who work there. It's not it's a big business. It's like, you're not gonna keep stuff quiet because there's a lot of interaction. He fell asleep. Covfefe. That's what it means. He fell asleep tweeting. Covfefe. And we'll see how much that kind of meme lasts. We had some good funny stuff passed around, and I'll probably keep doing some more. But yeah, he fell asleep on his phone and tweeted. Oh, well, anyway. So there's that. That was fun though. I could deal with another Covfefe here and there. As long as, everybody remembers when we have to vote. Oh, this guy put up this meme that I loved and then he took it down. I was so unhappy with that. It was that whole 2020, just get ready to vote for somebody who's not these Republicans. But then he took it down. Anyway, so Covfefe. Then going on to the comedians. There's been a couple comedians that have kind of done whatever. Bill Maher, I don't care about Bill Maher. He's whatever. If you like him, fine. He says stuff to get people to talk about him all the time. I don't think he should be fired. He can say what he wants. The Griffin thing. I hate this. It's I posted about this, right? I saw this early that morning. It's like, this is dumb. I don't want to post this. This is not funny. This isn't, I don't know what this is. This is just anger. This is rage. I don't want to post just anger, rage. I'm talking about her original art or comedy, if you will. And it's just that's just, come on, man. Come on, man. And the problem with the way that a lot of our news cycle works nowadays is that outrage kind of, it cuts and plays, and then everybody has their blogger post a blurb about it, right? So every little thing, and this gets 10 times the posts, and this is part of the whole nano media Facebook thing that's a little bit rough, and I think I need to work on the way my news feed works with who I'm following, as far as, because I know a lot of you, I don't know if you folks follow other news organizations and CBS, ABC, CBS, blah blah blah, but a lot of them, they all have a blogger post, a post about every little story, and so it just clogs up this. It's hard to pick up on big real stories when this kind of stuff is floating around, and the outrage stories and the emotion stories keep popping up, and so it's for people who follow news a lot. I think you kind of have to decide what you want to get out of it, and filter toward that, right, and try and find that. I mean, there was some great pictures of Jupiter, right, that were these amazing. We're doing some cool passes and things like that, and that's much more interesting than a comedian crossing lines for whatever reason, and people getting outraged by it. I just to stop something that has mass support, and what Trump is selling has mass support. That's why he won the election with the Electoral College. Idiots. In Russia. In Comey. Anyway, I had a whole big post about that too, and maybe I'll talk about that next week, because I did save it before that thread got deleted. Roy has learned at times when I decide to actually write something, writing takes so much longer than just talking. So much longer to sit down and write. when I write something for a thread that gets very contentious, I make sure to save that because people have a tendency to delete threads that I get on them. Anyway. Oh, I live my art. I live it. It's so fun. Lies and false premises. Flass premises. I should actually probably leave that notion up. So, let me give you a real quick example. There's a perfect example from the last couple days. There was the attack in London, which had ISIS fired off their operatives here in the U.S., if they have, to the degree that they have some, to be like, all right, go, do your attack. They'd be using automatic weapons, semi-automatic weapons. If they bought at a gun show, they wouldn't have to use trucks and knives. So, Trump's tweet on this is ridiculously stupid. Anyway, so let me read you this. 2 things. The London Mayor, Sadiq Khan, said in a statement Sunday that, quote, Londoners will see an increase... Londoners will see an increased police presence today and over the course of the next few days. No reason to be alarmed. A spokesman, okay. Donald Trump then quoted at least 7 dead and 48 wounded in terror attack, and Mayor of London says there is, quote, no reason to be alarmed. So this is what I'm talking about. Like these kind of false premises. This is a lie. You can't take a context like that where you're saying more police on the street, no reason to be alarmed about that, and then say, oh, we did this, and then the response to that is, because the response here is that there's more police on the street, and that we want everybody to stay calm. We're trying to get got this under control. It's not something that's ongoing. Apparently, within 10 minutes, this attack was over. He's just waiting for something to happen here. And something, when it does, they're going to go off the fucking chain. That's why I'm saying I don't know that we'll have an election without an attack. Because from ISIS's perspective, from their strategic perspective, they want to influence elections. They can't beat the U.S., or they can't beat any Western countries without all the Muslim world coming together. And the only way that that happens is if all the West attacks like that. And so the idea is to get a Trump elected, is to get, in France, Le Pen elected, to get May more power. So when you have an operative that you can use to influence, 'cause remember, terror attacks, they're not military attacks. They're not attacks meant to degrade infrastructure. You're not going to disrupt or destroy an economy through terror attacks. Now, I say that it depends on the situation. In the situation we're in currently, when you're in a occupation, a little bit different, and a frequency of attacks. But the point of these attacks and this kind of stuff is political. And it's to influence elections. And I think people need to realize that and understand what's going on and not let that necessarily influence people as much as they would like to. Because there's going to be an attack here, and it's probably going to be a big one. And now, instead of having a solidarity moment, we're going to have a crazy nutjob moment from the leadership. There is just that realignment, and this is what I was talking about on the international stage of how the U.S. sees itself, which, we're a country that reflects our chief executive. So what we think of ourselves at this moment is it's funny. Speaking of strange and curious things, I'm going to wrap this up pretty quick. Like I said, this is a little bit of a show. There was another AI moment this last week, and this actually has happened before. I don't know if you're familiar with artificial intelligence, but it's going to take over large parts of the world and most of the business world fairly soon. A lot of the driving, a lot of the flying, a lot of the sorting, a lot of the basic business office jobs and stuff like that. artificial intelligence. One of the things that people used to say a long time ago, and when the computer programs got grandmaster level at chess and were good, and that, oh, well, you know, it's really good at chess and they can do this other stuff, but it'll never beat a human at Go. Go being a different game that has a more open-ended structure where there's more moves to calculate, that there's more moves than can be calculated, so you have to kind of learn the spirit of the game and have a larger and broader strategy. So last year, Google's AI played a guy in South Korea, kicked his butt pretty good. The guy he was pretty good. He wasn't like the super best great guy. The guy who was the super best great guy in China was like, yeah, that's not bad, but I can beat it, no problem. So it beat the fucking shit out of super best great guy. Like, super best great guy was like, okay, this is not, is this God? Like, what am I playing? This isn't even, and they were saying, like, it used to play like a human, but now they tried to, after it got to grand level supermaster status, they started just having it play against itself. And now it's just like the guy's like, this is doing things in Go that humans have never conceived of. So when you want to understand where our AI future is moving, and a lot of this stuff, and our home delivery, and some of our future economy, you need to understand Go and what happened with Go and why this is real, and it's happening. Now, and you're going to, most likely, if you are aware enough to log in and watch this show, probably going to happen during your lifetime, your natural lifetime, as it were. So we need to be, this is a big part of my why, political why. Because this world is changing a great deal, and it can change into a really wonderful place, and we can escape dystopia, or it can be really nasty, nasty, horrible. So that's kind of the whole point of my show, right? Let's find this beautiful, wonderful future. Let's make the choices we need to bring it about. Simple, right? I gotta get rid of the ums. Can I smash the ums? Where next? What's to do next? How do we get there? So what we're gonna do next week is March. There's people marching out today. There's people marching every weekend. Keep the pressure on. Don't let the naysayers do their BS. If you feel that things are that wrong, we don't get to vote for a while, but you can, for the moment. Haven't seen legislation to stop it everywhere yet. Get out and voice your voice and march with your fellow human beings and your fellow Americans. And continue to keep pressure on and keep doing this, because I think we're doing okay on that resistance side for the moment. I haven't seen huge defeats, and I seem to see some gains, so we'll see how we'll go forward on there. But keep marching, keep fighting. So to wrap up and go through it again, we talked about how the U.S. is not really the leader of the free world anymore. That has fallen to Europe per se, especially with our pullout of the Paris Accord and the goals we set for ourselves under that accord. Covfefe, he fell asleep. Covfefe, that's what it is. Comedians, it's okay, just laugh. If they're not funny, there's other people who are funny, who aren't institutions, you don't know them, so you can always go find new funny people. I think there's lots of new funny people. Well, on false premises, from false premises, any conclusion is possible. It's just the way logic works, folks. So you gotta have a good grounding in reality to have an argument that works. Our president doesn't work on that philosophy, so this is why this is really very chaotic and strange. Don't think that you can become a Go master. No, you can become really good, but yeah, computers are better than humans. At that too. So I don't know. Pretty soon they're gonna be doing like art. You'd be like, yeah, that's better than me. I laugh because it's gonna be interesting, folks. We got a cool world. And now March, get out there, get out, enjoy the day. Have a fun one. Thanks, everybody. I did do my 30. So I will see you next week, most likely. I'm trying to get back into the habit and make things feel like they're normal. So we do that, and everyone has a wonderful week, right? We do all that. You guys peace out and chill out, and I'll talk to you later. Good night, everyone.